When somebody says Army aviation, people's thoughts immediately go to Hueys in Vietnam or Black Hawks in Afghanistan. But did you know that the United States Army has serviced helicopters since 1943? They were serving in World War II. Today we're going to be talking about every helicopter that has ever been serviced by the United States Army. Let's get into it. Welcome to Muskets to Missiles. I'm Anna, and since this is the first video on this channel, I would please invite everybody to like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you feel inclined to, especially if you do not see a helicopter that you know that was serviced. If you'd like to see more content like this, or anything to do with aviation history, military history, potentially firearms, go ahead and subscribe, and hopefully I can get that kind of content out to you in the future. But before we fully get started into the video, I wanted to give a few insights of what we're actually going to be looking into. I'm not going to be going into every single statistic that these helicopters have. If I did that, the video would probably be 3 hours long, I feel like. So we're just going to be talking about a couple statistics, and we're not talking about prototypes or experimental helicopters that the Army has experimented with or things like that. It's just going to be helicopters that have 100% served in the Army. Let's fully get into it now. We're going to be starting with World War II aircrafts. In 1943, the Army Air Force, it's still the Army, the Army Air Force implemented the R-4 Hoverfly. This helicopter served in the Pacific and the China-Burma Indian theaters. It did missions like search and rescue, reconnaissance, and even medevac. This helicopter only served for 5 years, but it did have the first combat rescue mission in April of 1944, rescuing 4 downed airmen from Japanese-controlled territory. 2 years after the implementation of the R-4, the R or H-6 Alpha came out, the Hoverfly 2. It served the same missions that the R-4 did, but it had better capabilities since it was an upgraded version. Now we're getting into the Korean and early Vietnam War. A lot of the aircrafts that were used in the Korean War were also used at the start of Vietnam. The H-5 Dragonfly was also implemented into service in 1945, but it did not see any combat or do any missions in World War II. But it was serviced in the Korean War. This was the last helicopter that the Army Air Force did implement before the Air Force split off into its own branch. The Dragonfly was used by the Army for 12 years. It was used as a transportation, observation, and liaison aircraft. Now, one of the most well-known older helicopters is the Bell H-13 Sioux. A lot of people know this aircraft by its appearances in the TV series MASH, and it was a staple in both the Korean and Vietnam Wars. This aircraft is also so well known because it was the first helicopter that was used in large-scale military operations. This aircraft came into service in 1949 and served the Army for 20 years in various roles such as observation, liaison, medevac, transportation, kind of you name it. Similar in looks to the Sioux, the Army implemented the H-23 Raven in 1949. The Raven also went on to serve for about 20 years. I couldn't really find a full end of service date, so roughly 20 years. The Raven was used as a training, observation, and medevac bird. After the Raven, the Army did a complete 180 with the implementation of the H-19 Chickasaw. Going from a light helicopter that was mainly used for observation purposes to an aircraft that was designed for troop movements and cargo resupply. The service of the Chickasaw really laid the groundwork for future utility and heavy lift models. This helo began service in 1951, and it served for 18 years in both Korea and Vietnam. Now, for one of my personal favorites, the H-21, or the Shawnee, or the Flying Banana. Most people know it as the Flying Banana. Service began in 1953. This aircraft really is the grandfather of today's heavy lift helicopters. This aircraft was used for air assault, medevac, and for troop and cargo transportation. With a lift capacity of 4,000 pounds, this completely changed the game for the Army, lifting more than any previous helicopter could. The Flying Banana only served for 12 years, but it's still one of the most recognizable. On the same note, just 2 years later, in 1955, the H-34 Choctaw began service. This was another heavy lift helicopter that was added to the Army's inventory. With a helicopter that was able to lift 5,000 pounds, this allowed the Army to conduct even more resupply and transportation missions. Now, some people love this helicopter, some people hate this helicopter. I personally love it. It just is so recognizable if you know what it is. The H-37 Mojave. The Army really stepped up its game with this aircraft for its heavy lift capabilities. It went from 5,000 pounds to now this helicopter can lift 13,000 pounds. It also had nose loading capabilities, which even added to the Army's strengths. This helicopter was used famously in Vietnam for covering downed aircrafts. Some people hate it because, granted, the mechanical side of it probably wasn't too great with the engines that thing was running, but I personally love it. The Mojave ended up serving for 18 years. Now for an aircraft that was used in Vietnam, and it's still being used today, the CH-47 Chinook. The Chinook has a wide range of mission capabilities. Medevac, search and rescue, disaster relief, resupply, heavy lift. It can really do it all. For the most, where it can fit, we'll put it that way. It has been serving for 63 years as of 2025. It has been serving since 1962. The Chinook has a lift capacity of 26,000 pounds, has famously served in Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. It's a pretty well-known aircraft. If you see it, you know it. I know I said I love the Flying Banana, but personally, this is one of my favorite helicopters. I don't know why, I know why the Army got rid of them. Still, like, they're so cool. And if you don't think they're cool, there's something wrong with you. The CH-54 Tarhe, the Sky Crane. In Vietnam, it was mostly well recognized for its downed aircraft recoveries and for the Daisy Cutter bomb. And if you don't know what a Daisy Cutter bomb is, it's a 10,000 pound bomb that was dropped to make new landing zones. So, pretty cool. The Sky Crane served for 30 years, 1963 to 1993. While this aircraft never saw combat, it is still an aircraft that served in the Army, so I'm going to mention it. The TH-55 Osage. This was a trainer aircraft for the Army. It served at Fort Walters, Texas, and Fort Rucker, Alabama. It served for 24 years, beginning in 1964. Now, the OH-6 Cayuse. With the nickname the Loach, this aircraft was used famously in Vietnam for reconnaissance, observation, and utility roles. The Loach served in hunter-killer teams with the next aircraft we're about to talk about. The Bell AH-1 Cobra, the Army's first dedicated attack helicopter. The Army used the Cobra in Vietnam, Desert Storm, and Operation Just Cause in Panama. It's been used for direct fire support for ground troops and reconnaissance and anti-tank, air-to-air combat. If you need a gun or a missile, it's got it. The hunter-killer teams were used by the AH-1 Cobra and the OH-6 Cayuse, where the OH-6 would go out and be like, hey, that's our target, and the AH-1 would come in and fuck them up, for lack of a better term. The Cobra served for 34 years in the Army, from 1967 to 2001. Now, one of my favorites, I know I keep saying that, oh, this one's my favorite, that one's my favorite, but because I have worked on these, they have to be one of my favorites. The Bell OH-58 Kiowa. The Kiowa was used for observation, utility, direct fire support. The Kiowa served in Vietnam, the Gulf War, and GWOT. It served for a whopping 48 years, 1969, until sadly it was retired in 2017. Now, the star of Vietnam, the Bell UH-1 Iroquois, or the Huey. It served as a troop and cargo transport, air assault, gunships, medevac, search and rescue, special missions operations. This thing really did it all in Vietnam. While it is iconic in Vietnam, it also served in Grenada and in Desert Storm. It served for 42 years from 1974 to 2016. One I personally know the best, just because I work on them, the UH-60 Blackhawk. While there's so many different variants, I'll put them all somewhere. This thing is really the utility of all utility helicopters. It can do just about anything. Medevac, troop transport, cargo transport, sling loads, search and rescue, disaster relief, and command and control. This aircraft has served in a lot of places, but just to name a few, Grenada, Iraq, Somalia, just a couple places. It has currently been serving for 46 years, starting service in 1979. Now, I know when I was on the OH-6, some of y'all are going to say, oh, but what about all the special missions? Made a completely separate thing for the MH-6 Little Bird. The Little Bird has been used for special operations since 1980. Missions such as insertion and extraction, light attack and support, search and rescue, and even UAV recovery. It's been used in a whole lot of places: Panama, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, again, like the Black Hawk, just to name a few. It is a staple in 160 SOAR, and it has been serving for 45 years. Boeing AH-64 Apache, used for direct fire support, reconnaissance, target acquisition, and armed escort. It's been used in Operation Desert Storm and in GWOT. It has currently been serving for 39 years. While this aircraft has never left the US for Army purposes, but it is a trainer aircraft, so again, like the Osage, I'm going to mention this one. The Bell TH-67 Creek. It has been used as the Army's primary flight trainer up until very recently in 2021. It served for 28 years. This aircraft served and trained thousands of both US and allied nations troops. Now, the last one on my list is the Eurocopter UH-72 Lakota. Personal opinion, not my favorite aircraft. I have my own beef with the Lakota. But there are a lot of different purposes for this aircraft. So I understand why the Army implemented it. Don't know why it's still around, let's just say that. It has currently been serving for 18 years from 2007 until now in 2025. It is used for non-combat related roles, so disaster relief, medevac, reconnaissance, VIP transport, search and rescue, things of that nature. As far as I know, that's all the aircrafts that have served in the US Army. I am 100% sure that there are probably some that I missed. I did leave the variants because, like, the UH-60, for example, it has, you know, the EH-60 Alpha, the HH-60 Lima. There's so many different models of it. So, like, for things like that, I have left on the screen to show that, like, I'm not forgetting all the different variants. But there probably are some aircrafts that I just completely missed and looked over. So if you found one in this video, or that you know that was not in this video, please leave it in the comments, because I would genuinely love to know. I want to add it to my little documentation. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you'd like to see more content like this, or anything relating to Army history, military history, firearms, helicopters specifically. I'm gonna get into some fixed wing stuff, but helicopters are my jam. It's what I know, it's what I work on. So again, please just like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to catch you on the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.